Hello class 8, NS ma'am here. Today I am going to start the second chapter of your half yearly syllabus, that is the coal and petroleum. So let us start the chapter. Okay students, let us start the chapter. Now coal and petroleum, the name of the chapter. These two things we obtain from the nature. So they are the resources that we can get from the nature. So what is the definition of this? They can be known as natural resources. So what is the definition? The sources which are obtained from the nature are called natural resources. Now natural resources are broadly divided into two groups: inexhaustible natural resources and exhaustible natural resources. Inexhaustible means they cannot be used completely, where if we use them, there are a constant supply of these things like sunlight and air. On the other hand, exhaustible natural resources are limited. If we continually use them, there is a chance of diminishing, like forest, coal, petroleum, etc. Now, exhaustible natural resources are further divided into two groups: renewable resources and non-renewable resources. As the name suggests, renewable resources means that can be renewed or replenished. If we use air, water, plants and animal products, they can be renewed or they can be regenerated. But if we continually use minerals and fossils, there is a possibility that they can be fully gone from the nature. So these are known as non-renewable resources. So they cannot be renewed or replenished. Example that I said, that minerals and fossil fuels are the example of non-renewable resources. Now why we are discussing these things? As we know that coal and petroleum are used for fuels, we need them to generate energy. So what is the definition of fuel? Let us see. Fuels. A fuel is a substance which burns in air to produce energy, releasing harmful gases in large quantities. Okay, we need fuels for burning purpose, but there is a negative point of this burning. They can emit harmful gases in the nature. But now we are going to the fuels, so let us discuss about it. Fuels are also divided into two groups: primary or natural fuels and secondary or derived fuels. Primary or natural fuels can be found in the nature itself, like the wood, crude oil means petroleum, natural gas, etc. Secondary or derived fuels are those fuels that can be derived from these natural fuels, like coke, kerosene, coal gas, etc. These are the derivatives of the crude oil or the petroleum. We obtain these things from the petroleum. So these are the secondary or derivative fuels. We use fuels for generating energy. The characteristic of this fuel is their calorific value. The amount of heat given out by a unit of mass of a fuel on complete combustion in air or oxygen is known as the calorific value of the fuel. If you take 1 gram or 1 kg of coal to burn, if you burn it completely, then it will generate some amount of energy. It is known as its calorific value. So in short, what we can say, calorific value kg or kilojoule per kg or gram equals to amount of liberated heat energy by total mass of fuel. So when we take some amount of fuel and if we burn them, after burning, the amount of generated energy, that is the calorific value of that particular fuel. So here you will find different type of fuels have different type of calorific value. we choose the fuels on the basis of this calorific value. How many energy or how much energy they can produce. On basis of that things, we can favor some of the fuels, whether we cannot allow others. Okay. Now, coal and petroleum, as we all know, they are the fossil fuels. Now, what are fossils? Fossils are the remaining of the dead plants and animals that are deposited in the inside of the earth. And after some years, when we take out them, we just can see their structure, that is just the remaining on the sedimentary rocks, etc. So these are called the fossils. Now, coal and petroleum are also fossil fuels. Why? Let us see. Now, first we are going to know about fossil fuels. Exhaustible natural resources like coal and petroleum and natural gas were formed from the dead remains of living organisms. Those are called the fossils. So these are called fossil fuels. So because of their formed by the dead and decaying remainings of the plants and animals, that's why they are called the fossil fuels. Fossil fuels are of three types: coal, petroleum and natural gas. Today we are going to discuss about coal. Now here you can see I have listed some different types of coal: peat, lignite, bituminous and anthracite. How they form? Let us discuss. First, coal. What is coal? Coal is a complex mixture of carbon, hydrogen and oxygen compounds. And how coal is formed? There is a story behind the formation of coal. As you can see here, I have given a flow chart of this formation. Now first, plant matters. As coal can be found in the coal mine in land area. So there we can get an idea that the coal is generated from the materials that can be found on the land. Most of these materials are plant matters. When plants dies, they decompose, and when the microorganisms act on that decaying and decomposing materials, they first turn into a substance that is not coal, but actually that is the first step of formation of coal. That substance is known as peat. It is called partially decayed plant matters. They are not the typical coal, but this is the first step of forming that. After peat is deeply buried under the soil. So the peat further buried inside of the soil, and when the high temperature and high pressure act on the peat, then it transforms into lignite. Now here we can call this lignite the coal, because now it is turning into a brownish compound that is made up of or that is generated from the peat. It also loses some water, and the moisture is now going. It is turning into a black color, but gradually lignite itself we can see it as a brown color. So it is also known as brown coal. This is the lowest quality of the coal. Now, after continual burial of the lignite, then we can get our desirable black coals. What are the black coals? The sub-bituminous coal, bituminous coal and the anthracite coal is collectively known as black coal. Why? Because they are black in color. Now the moisture is gradually going, and it is now becoming very hot, porous, and the calorific value also increases. These black coals are required by the people for generating energy. Now we also use lignite for generating energy, but black coals are more desirable than brown coals. Let us see why we use black coals rather than, or why we prefer black coals rather than brown coals. Here you can see I have drawn a list, or I have drawn a table in which you can see I have placed the 4 types of coal. Now here is another point: carbon containing, second calorific value, and third uses. Carbon contents. As the coals gradually transform into another, the carbon content increases. Now organic materials like the plants have carbons, hydrogen, nitrogen, all the materials inside of them. But when these things are buried in the soil for long period of time, the carbon component becomes dominating. This process is known as carbonization. I am going later to this point, but first let us see why we prefer anthracite rather than peat. Here you can see peat, the first type of step of formation of coal. As we see, it contains less than 60% of the carbon. So its calorific value is also low, 10 to 15 kilojoule per gram. Uses. Though it has a very low calorific value and carbon contents, it can be used as fuels, but alternative to the firewood. Here you can see I have used this term firewood because as we know, the peat is actually the decaying, is similar to the decaying plant matters. So instead of firewood we can use peat, but the uses are very in very small amount. Now lignite. Carbon content 65 to 70%. Calorific value 15 to 20 kilojoule per gram. It can be used in power plants for production of the electrical things. Bituminous. 76 to 86% of carbon. 30 to 35 kilojoule per gram calorific value. As you can see, this is increasing. The calorific value is also increasing. The carbon contents is also. What is the uses of bituminous? Household uses. We use them in house to generate fuels. It is also used in the industrial purpose. Anthracite. 86 to 97 carbon content. 86 to 97%. Okay. 28 to 30 kilojoule per gram calorific value. It can be used as industrial purpose. Now, anthracite is the most highest quality or the most desirable coal because it has the highest quality because of its carbon content, 86 to 97% of carbon. Now, there is a difference between bituminous and anthracite. Bituminous can be easily found, and anthracite is very, it's costly. So we can't use anthracite whenever we need. Rather, we use bituminous. Also, anthracite is, as you can see, and calorific value. Below in the bituminous, you can see the calorific value is 30 to 35 kilojoule per gram, whereas in anthracite it is 28 to 30 kilojoule per. But it must be higher than the bituminous, but no. Because anthracite has lower volatile matter. What is volatile matter? The gases that is present inside that helps to burn these substances. Anthracite has less amount of those gases. So the flame is not very, we cannot get very high flame out of anthracite. They are good for very slow combustion. On the other hand, bituminous are good for fast combustion. They have high flame, so that we use them. and as we can see that bituminous also have the higher calorific value than the anthracite. Now, how they form? How the carbon actually getting more in these products. Now, this is because of the carbonization. The chemical process involved in the transformation of plant matter into coal is called the carbonization of the plant matter. Because of the chemical process, which type of chemical process? Yes, inside of the soil there is a large amount of chemical reactions are going because of the heat, because of the high pressure, because of the microorganisms, etc. When this plant matters, because of these chemical reactions transformed into coal, the carbon compounds get dominating. This process is known as carbonization. So from the green plant, we can obtain the black color coal. This black thing is because of the carbon. Now, these were the natural things we can get from the coal. But we can obtain some other things from the coal by destructive distillation of coal. What is the destructive distillation of coal? The process of heating coal in the absence of air is called the destructive distillation of coal. Now, if we obtain different type of things or different type of substances from the coal, we perform this thing. In the absence of air, in a closed chamber, we perform this distillation process. By heating in different temperature, we get different things like coke, coal tar and coal gas. Now, what is coke? And it is the solid form of coke. Now we are going to see their characteristics and uses also. Coke, solid, and it contains 98% of the carbon. It is porous, tough, black and purest form of coal. Good fuel, burns without smoke. They do not generate, usually do not generate much amount of smoke. Uses, used in the extraction of metals from the ores. If we want to extract the metals from the ore, then we use coke. Making of fuel gases like water gas and producer gas. You know about water gas. Okay, in the metals and the non-metals chapter, we have learnt about it. When hot coke, when steam is passed over the hot coke, then the water gas is formed. Okay. Here is the coke, and when we heat the coke and pass the steam over it, then we can get the water gas. Water gas and producer gas are used in glass making industries or welding. In the welding industries, we use this water gas and producer gas. Coal tar, it is liquid. It is a mixture of different carbon compounds. It is thick, black liquid with unpleasant smell. It has very unpleasant or bad foul smell. Okay. Previously, it was used for making of road, for making the cover or the upper surface of the road. Nowadays, they don't use, and the bituminous is rather used for this purpose. Now, uses, making of dyes, paints, pesticides, etc. Making of naphthalene. Naphthalene balls we use in our cupboard. These are made of coal tars. Now the last one, coal gas. Coal gas is a mixture of hydrogen, methane and carbon monoxide. High calorific value, for that they are used for fuels. Uses. In the Mumbai, in the very previous days, they were used for lighting the houses, factories, etc. In the lightning bulb, they are used. Also used as fuels in the house. They can be supplied by long pipes into the house. And previously they also used for cooling. Okay, these were the uses of coal gas. So students, this was about the first part of this chapter. In the next video we are going to discuss petroleum and natural gas. Thank you.